Hello everyone, how you doing? I'm Divine Celiane. Great to see you. So glad to be back. I waited because there's something specific I wanted to talk about, and I had to do a little bit of study on it. And I had a lot of questions. So I'm here to bring that to you. I did not pre-write my notes this time, so we're going to see how this goes. I actually decided to use the actual book. So, let's go over housekeeping items. Welcome in. As I say in the store, welcome in. And you are very welcome here. I'm Divine Celiane. For those of you that do not know, you are very welcome to my channel. And I talk about self-love and love. Divinely gifted empath who has been blessed to understand and know what walking the path of love is and what love is. Housekeeping item: if you have mental health issues, especially with some things that I say that trigger you and you just cannot sit still in your spirit, please go see a professional. I am a spiritual advisor. I'm a spiritual counselor. I'm an ordained minister, so I'm allowed to give spiritual counsel. I do not give mental health counsel. All right. Let me also preface this as well. We're going to be referencing the Bible in regards to Jesus himself. That's what this talk is about. I am not a religious person. I am not downing any religion. Okay. So if you think you're going to come at me in my comments, understand I come right back. That's love, baby. So you can save your negative comments. You can keep that. That's not what we do here. And you will be swiftly removed and blocked. You understand? So I'm saying that because some people get triggered. I have been there in the past, and I still do sometimes, where my ego gets triggered over what someone is saying. But this is coming from y'all book. Okay? And there's a reason why I call it y'all book. So it is what it is. But I'm going to be discussing some things that's going to upset some people. And that's okay. It needs to be said. All right, are we ready? All right, my loves, I love you. All right, so let's go. Okay. I needed to touch upon Jesus for a reason. Something came to me one day and said, Divine, you need to talk on this what would Jesus do thing. I have this thing with people reaching for, a higher being without doing any research. Thinking that by not doing research, it's solidifying your faith. No. See, back in the day, in Moses' time, right? It was harder to question then, but you still had to question because they had to make sure you understood what they were saying. They wanted to know. So they would ask you questions. You would ask questions, right? It would be kind of suspect if you didn't. Yet I noticed that the God we're taught about, because there's many different ones in this Bible, and you can tell by the personalities of them, number one. Number two, for the life of me, and no one answers this question, why Christians follow Hebrew law when the Torah stops because they don't believe in the other books, even the Kabbalistic Bible. And I'm like, interesting. Christians will sit up and swear on the laws of Moses. And when Jesus came, he gave 2. That encompasses them all. It says it in the book. Yet y'all keep harping on the 10. And it wasn't 10. It was way more than that. Gonna leave that alone. So, one thing I found is the God that they teach you. You wonder why you're confused. Because out of the original Bible, it took 450 books out. Of course, you're going to be confused. It gave you the answer on how to do a lot of things. without having to consult anyone else, unless you need to consult someone for understanding. But today, I'm touching upon that whole, what would Jesus do? People love to say that. Hate to walk it. Well, why would you say that? I mean, they say, what would Jesus do? And they're trying to walk it. Because you have no clue how Jesus walked. You think you know based on a book of how Jesus walked. You don't understand how Jesus walked. You don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be walking it the way it is out there. That's one. Two, that, what is that? That YouTube little short thing. He gets us, right? And they were saying about how Jesus didn't get angry. That was a lie. That is a bold-faced lie. And I'm sitting up here and I was thinking to myself, I said, these people really do not understand God. They did not understand Jesus. They don't. They don't. So I wanted to talk upon that today. Now, for the sake of this, it will not matter whether you believe in he died or not. We're not talking about that. But we are talking about a man heavenly endowed and gifted. Okay. There was a preacher that was on YouTube talking about faith is higher than love. No, it is not. Jesus told you that. No, it is not. Love is the highest. There's scripture on that too. See, I don't quote scripture because, as they say, even the devil can quote scripture, and that's so true. So true. And whenever I do have to pick up this book, I back it up with what my intuition tells me, with my downloads tell me. I ask. I am like a teacher's nightmare. I ask. And then I test the data set. Okay? Doesn't mean I don't have faith. It just means, and as I told Spirit, I'm not being judged until I know the truth. And what they have is not the truth. So, where is it? And I said that when I was little. So, let's get into it. All right. So, I'm looking at Matthew 10, verse 34. And 35. And I'm looking, I have actually a Bible that has 4 different versions. We have a King James, Modern Language, Living Bible, and Revised Standard. And the Revised Standard says this: do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. From what I know, warriors carry swords, but warriors can look many different ways. Everyone paints this picture of Jesus coming in peace. I come in peace. Where? Jesus has said that when he was stepping foot into a particular place. But he's telling you he did not come to this earth to bring peace. He came to earth to bring a sword, just like I wield the sword of love. So where is this? He didn't get angry. He was only peaceful. Where's that? That came from his own mouth. See, there's a lot of people that read this thing. There's a lot of metaphor and there's a lot of literal, right? Still comes from the mouth of man. Still does. Except what's supposed to be Jesus' words themselves. And I never understood, if you're going to a church, because I'm not religious, I don't believe in religious, but I never understood if you're going to a church and you're Christian and your word is based on the word of Jesus. Now, some people say, well, it's based on the word of God. Well, Jesus is still his emissary, and that's who you got to listen to. So, to get to the Father, so you're supposed to be listening to Jesus. Why is it then that during the gospel is the only time we hear the word of Jesus, when that's the most important? You make the laws of Moses and everything else more important, but you are not a Jew. Never understood that. For the life of me, I never understood that. And he references the commandments down into 2. But I don't ever hear that either. So then it makes me wonder, what doctrine are you following? You have different religions talking about other religions, but you're using a Catholic Bible. But you Methodist, Baptist, and all this kind of stuff, but you're using a Catholic Bible. But you're going to talk about these other faiths. How when you're using their Bible? Now, some of the Bibles are shifted. How much can you shift? Before changing, altering the meaning of the word. And that's why I had to get a tour for the first 5, because words were altered. And when you alter words, the meaning is different. Okay? You can change the whole semantics of something and pragmatics of something. Changing words. So you got to be very careful of that. Okay? Even in languages that are not English, you make the wrong translation, the wrong accent, changes the word. So don't think I have come to bring peace. So 1, he told you. He didn't come to bring peace. He came to bring a sword. Because of what people were doing. Okay? In particular, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And understand, he was a teacher since 12. And some people will say, well, no, he wasn't wrong. Because he was called teacher. And if you weren't a rabbi, you weren't called teacher. And he was welcome to teach, which he did. So he was. You understand? So, I'm going to be jumping around, so give me a moment. Because he does talk about fear. Another thing. A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher, and the servant like the master. If they have called the master of the house of Beelzebub, how much more will they malign with those of his household? Well, what does that mean? A disciple is not above his teacher, and a servant is not above the master. This is what I mean. In order for the teacher to be successful, the student has to be successful. That's how you know that what the teacher is teaching is relevant and poignant. And the teacher knows how to teach through the student, not through the teacher. You can observe the teacher, and the teacher can be very knowledgeable. But if you can't translate it to your student, you know kind of fucking teacher. Excuse my language. But, because I'm a teacher in the classroom, right? And I have this thing of when teachers get on about, I got this PhD and I got this master's. Cool. What are your kids learning? Have they been able to master what you're teaching? Then what kind of teacher are you? You are no better than your student, and vice versa. A master is no better than their servant. So a master that sits up and degrades and mistreats the servant is no better than the servant. Because the servant learns from the master. And likewise, the master learns from the servant. Because there are things the servant doesn't know that the master can, or there are things that the servant knows that the master can't see. Because the master doesn't do that work. Same thing. A good teacher learns from a student how to teach that student. Because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know how to teach that student, you don't know anything. And you're not going to reach that student. So how good of a teacher are you again? And there are things that students know, teachers don't know. So you must work in tandem. So those that try to approve and okay the slavery shit, boom, there you go. You're not above. Those that have money and are doing nothing to help people, boom, you're not above. It was just told you're not. Right? Because one is like the other, because one is learned from the other, but you both are learning from each other. One is not above the other. He tells you. All right. That was from Matthew 10, verse 24 through 25. Okay? That one. All right. So move on to... Okay. The reason why Jesus was killed was for a political reason. I had to look up Caiaphas for this. Because only in one book of the four Gospels, did it say that Caiaphas was in the pit? Jesus was in the pit of Caiaphas' house being held before he goes to Pilate. Couldn't find it in any other book but one. That's the last book. I think that's John. I was like, how come this is not in any other book? Because many of us that are Catholic didn't know because it's left out, except for in John. And I was like, that's interesting. Why would a prisoner be kept in his house? In a pit. In a pit so deep, he had to be lowered in. And I said, that's a very interesting thing. Because the only other time a pit is mentioned is for Satan. I said, oh, he even got treated like Satan. I said, okay. But he was sacrificed by Caiaphas because Caiaphas did not want the relation between the Jews and the Romans messed up. Political. Oh, like today, it was political. The fear of, since Jews were looked at as lower, the fear of he's going to mess up everything. And here's the funny thing. Barabbas was one who followed him because there was more than 12. They started out as 12. But then he employed 70 more because there were 2 sermons on the mounts. One of 4,000 people and one of 5,000 people. Or I've seen that, and I've seen where there's 5,000 and 5,000. And Jesus asked God for help with being able to reach the people. He said, I need more people. And so when he did, he got 70 more. Barabbas was one of them. Some of the Pharisees' wives, the women that are mentioned, were some of them. Even political women followed. That whose husbands did not believe in Jesus followed. And so he technically had 83, if you include him and Mary Magdalene, because he had women who followed and did the work too. It's in the book. Go look at it. Go read all 4. It's in the book. So I found that interesting because you only hear about the 12. You don't hear about the other 70. And Barabbas was one of them. Caiaphas' wife was one of them. Caiaphas' wife was one of them. I said, oh, that is interesting, isn't it? But we don't hear about that. So, I'm saying this to say, this is Matthew chapter 5, verse 20. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, people take that to mean, and I'm gonna lay this out for you. People take that to mean you can't be higher than the Pharisees and scribes. I want you to understand something. He was beefing with them at this time because he knew them. He walked among them. He taught with them. He was always getting on them for what they were doing. Okay? They would follow tradition instead of following God's words. He would get on them all the time about that. You see this in Matthew 15, verse 2 and 3, when he said, why do you disciples transgress against the tradition of the elders? This is what the Pharisees asking him, asking Jesus, for they do not wash their hands when they eat. He answered them, and why do you transgress the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? So unless you're higher than that, then the falsity that the scribes, Sadducees, and Pharisees teach and were teaching, and notice I said and, because it ain't changed, then unless your righteousness exceeds them, What does that mean? Those that say and give a false word in the name of God, in the name of Jesus. But you do what does not back up the word of God, Jesus. And you swear you do, and you're the keeper of it. Yes, I'm talking about prophets. Yes, I am talking about pastors and preachers and stuff like that. Yes, your righteousness can be higher than theirs. Absolutely. And unless it is higher than the false ones that claim to know, but don't follow, you will not get in. You have no clue what it even means to get in. You don't understand why that number is so small. Excuse me. There's a reason. Because when you get the information, right, and you hear from a person, and it's passed down, and you follow without study. You got to study. Why? Because God is personal to you. To you. Not what they painted for you. It speaks, spirit speaks to you. Or something speaks to you. Your intuition, you know what I'm saying? So, unless you're higher than the false ones, you're not walking in. Well, what do? They study. In order to misuse the word, you got to study the word. You got to know it. Okay? So, that would mean like an enemy, even Satan or even the devil, can quote scripture, the enemy knows it better than you. What are you doing? You looking at TV, you looking at this pastor, you listen, read. And even when pastors do give you the information, or priests or whatever, you still study to get an understanding for yourself. But if you're a Christian, the first 4 books of the gospel, New Testament, should be what you're looking at. Because the law of Moses is in it when he made it too. Understand who you're following. And if you're going to sit up and say, you know how many hear this say repeated? If you're going to sit up and say, what would Jesus do? You don't know what Jesus would do unless you studied it and you understand. You don't know. Okay, so move on. And so let's move on to that. Why do you transgress the commandment of God for the sake of tradition? Well, what do you mean, what commandment of God? Love thy God above all others. Love your neighbor as yourself. So why would the Pharisees, scribes, and Sadducees transgress against that? Why would they feel that they had the right to condemn Jesus to death? And then they still had to okay it by those over them and get them on board to do it. With the lie of, well, if you don't, our political relationship is going to be messed up. So you kill someone out of politics. That was no threat. You could have gotten them at any time, as Jesus said. And I wasn't a threat when I was walking with you. But now I am. Because now I'm spreading the truth. I see. So, another thing I wanted to say. I can't tell you how many times I would sit up and think about this actually. I'm like, Jesus, you chose your disciples, right? But those disciples were so damn raspy. And let me explain. I can't tell you how many times he had to get after Peter for the things Peter would say. No understanding. I can't tell you how many times he got after the twins and their mother, and I can't remember the name, and I don't want to sit up and look at it. I think it was James and his brother. Asking Jesus to put them in charge in his place when Jesus is gone. Why would you ask that? That's the same thing I said about when someone is jealous about their position being higher, but you're not willing to take the sacrifice and do the work that it requires to be that higher position because you have no clue what it entails. No clue. So how many times did Jesus have to go after his disciples into the point where he said, you don't get it yet? You don't understand still? He really got on Peter about that. Because supposedly Peter was to lead the church. Peter was not to lead the church. That was Mary Magdalene who was supposed to lead the church. It was not Peter. That's why Peter went after her, because he was mad. But Peter, you denied Jesus in the time to save your life. You denied. Why would it be left to you? Jesus already knew what you were going to do. And anything that has to be nurtured is left to a woman, not a man. So I was like, So in Matthew, what is it, chapter 14, verse 32, or actually end of 31, when he was walking on water. O man of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got to the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, because it was turbulent and he had to stop it. Upon seeing them, they should have known what he would have done. See, this speaks to what you believe will happen. Why didn't you believe? That's something Jesus did. Jesus got on those that had no belief. But see, in this case, it's because he was right in front of them. And if you can't believe and I'm right in front of you, like Thomas after he, if you can't believe and I was right in front of you, well, what does that say? You understand? What does that say? Something else about Caiaphas I found interesting, it just came into my mind to mention. Caiaphas was married to Annas, married into the family to become a priest, or to be a priest, not born into it. So you have someone that's an outsider, Greek, determining your fate of Jews. I found that interesting. Just gonna leave that footnote there. So, moving on. No, not everything is in Matthew. Oh, my favorite. The law of love. All right, I'm going to tackle those that keep saying that faith is paramount. What is faith without love? Love is the reason why you have faith in the first damn place. So why would faith be higher than love? Love is the highest. That's why I don't understand. I know they have technically measured the emotion of love, I guess it is, or something like that. And you see joy and bliss and all these other things higher than love. There's nothing higher than love. Love can't be measured if you're going on emotion, because yes, there are many forms of love, but when you're in the ultimate love state, who's to say what that looks like for each person? It is different. So I don't listen to those things when they sit up and say that love is at a particular place. No, because love is all. Through love, everything else comes. And Jesus says there's one thing that's not of love, and we're going to get to that. So let's get to this. The law of love. Luke chapter 6, verse 27. But I say to you that here, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. To him who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from him who takes away your coat, do not withhold your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you, and of him who takes away your goods, do not ask them again. And as you wish that men would do to you, do so to them. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Oh. For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that for you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies and do good and lend. Expect nothing in return, and your reward will be great. And you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the selfish. Be merciful, even as your Father is most merciful. Now, did you see? Giving to those that's going to give back loving those that's going to love you back. Lending to those that's going to pay it back. Doing good to those that you know will do good to you back doesn't mean anything. Now, doesn't mean you don't do good. Of course you do, right? But that don't count. Giving and being kind to those that you know love you already does not count toward your sin count, meaning toward redeeming your sin count. Okay? Cleaning it away. Excuse me. That don't mean nothing, because you already know those people will. It's the ones that are the difficult that may not. So what you mean, Divine? Someone breaking my house, I'm supposed to let them have it? Well, there's a couple ways to look at that. Okay? Say you're not home, someone stole from you. Of course you file a police report and stuff like that, right? You don't want them to harm someone else. That's love. But then, who's to say you didn't need to clear space to make way for something better? Who's to say that? Who's to say that upon your losing, other people heard about your losing, and you received better than what you had, but you couldn't receive that unless the person took? Or if you had an enemy, right? Pay attention to those who have killed someone. And you hear them speak in court, and the person, the family member, the one that they killed, they stand up there and forgive them and look. Now, there are some who don't respond right away because they don't want you to see. They don't want to be punked, as they say. Can't stand that. That's why we got these fights in school, one reason. But they'll tell them, I'm going to forgive you, because the forgiving is not just for them. It is for the person that's doing the forgiving. That's who it's really for. And look at the reaction of these people. Look how most of them break down and can't take it. They can take the aggression because the aggression is what they're used to. The aggression is what they know from other people against them, and that's why they have the aggression. But they are not used to the love being given to them, and that love is what teaches them that lesson to stop. Remember, I told you, we are used as lessons for people. We are catalysts for people. And thank you. And almost always, those that have to be better, that have to forgive, the hard stuff to forgive, it's in that moment that lesson is taught. If you don't, they don't learn the lesson. Then you wonder why they keep doing what they're doing, because everyone they encounter is acting the same until that one that forgave. And yeah, they have to be removed from society because they keep doing the same thing. They can't be allowed to do that. But their lives are changed, even if it doesn't look like it, by the one who forgave. You want to walk like Jesus walks? That's one of them. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry, y'all. Family business. So, excuse me. So, you want to know what Jesus would do? Forgive those that harm him like he did. How many of you do that? Excuse me. How many of you do that? I'll wait. How many of you actually do that? Or how many of you walk around, I ain't getting no punk. They ain't going to do that to me. I'm not the one. They not going to. Then don't sit up and parade around like you doing what Jesus would do. Because you ain't. That's one of the main ones that he told you. You dig? That's the law. That's one of the laws of love. With that. Is that. Okay? That is love. That's what it was. James and John. That's what I was talking about, the mother. James and John. And he had rebuked that mom. So, let me see. Okay. I'm going to come back to the love piece because we have the commandment thing. But, true discipleship. What would Jesus do, right? True discipleship. Okay. So, Luke chapter 9, verse 49. And I'm splitting this in half. Okay. And it says, Master, we saw a man casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he does not follow with us. But Jesus said to him, do not forbid him, for he that is not against you is for you. All right. Divine, why would you mention this one? Easy. You know, people are walking around talking about going again in the Old Testament, talking about soothsaying, right? And I believe Jesus did say something about that. However, Jesus gave that gift to 82 people. And the reason why I said 83 before, because it was including him. But he already had it. So, but I'm going to get there. So, there were other people at the time that could cast out demons, doing the work he was doing. Dig that, right? Which you didn't hear about. One. The other thing, though, is, what did he say? Do not forbid him, for he that is not against you is for you, right? Those that do and use their gifts for good, like I said, war is not waged against them. They're doing the work of the disciple. So those, you talking about the soothsaying, you talking about the tarot cards, you're talking about the channeled messages. First of all, you can't boo-boo on the channeled messages because they come from spirit or they come from something else, depends on what is being said to you. But you have no control, and nor can you judge when someone gets a channel message. That in itself is stupid. And those that are true know when it's a channel message. Now, but there are those, right, that have the gift of the tarot, reading that, oracle, have that gift, so on and so forth. If you're doing it for good, he tells you, you're not to be chastised. Let them help us. Because a lot needs to be done. Let them use their gift for good. They're not an enemy against you. So then why do you have all these people trying to pretend like they asses is God and understand Jesus, going to the Old Testament, when in the Old Testament, that's because the only ones that were allowed to do it were the Jews. In particular, their teachers, their rabbis. You understand? And those that were endowed were tested to see if it was really of God. So who are you to say what people can do? Now, if it's an evil, that's one thing. Okay? But if it's not, and it's helping, and they're calling on spirit, shut up. It is not for you to judge. You ain't even supposed to be judging in the first place. And I'm going to take it a step further. Okay? The mission of the 70. Luke chapter 10, verse 1. After this, the Lord anointed 70 others and sent them ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to come. And he said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Pray therefore to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. You know what that means? Okay? Then the 70 will come back. Now he sent them out to spread the word. The 70 comes back. And in Luke 10, chapter 23, then turning to the disciples, he said privately, blessed are the eyes which see what you see. For I tell you that many prophets and kings desire to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. Jesus anointed 82 people to cast out demons, to heal, to see, gifts that Jesus had. He gave 82 people the gifts he had to heal others. Well, Divine, what are you saying? One, he shared his gift. He knew he couldn't do it alone. So he employed 82 total to go out 2 by 2. Last time we heard that was Noah, huh? To go out and spread the message. To heal the way he did, because they needed to touch more people. You understand what I'm saying to you? He endowed. So here's a question. Who's to say that the people of those families passed down in generation, right, don't have those gifts? Of course they still have those gifts. Their houses may have been blessed to continue on to do it. And of course, over years and thousands of years, the DNA spreads all over. So those people you sitting up here saying that they ain't got the right to do certain things, you don't know. You don't know if they were in that line of those folks, of his 82, that he blessed to heal like other folks. Hence why you got some people like that in this world. A lot of misuse it. But he told them to use it because he needed help, like he needs help now. That's why you got stars, seeds, and chosens and stuff. So who are you to say what they can and can't do? Who are you? So, again, blessed are the eyes which see what you see. For I tell you that many prophets and kings desire to see what you see and did not see it, and hear what you hear and did not hear it. They were chosen to. Everyone else can make themselves, and maybe the Spirit will bless you, but they were chosen to, which means, it translates to, you have chosens, designated by Spirit to do certain things. You are not to get on them for the gifts that they use, especially if they were endowed with those gifts, and they are not to prove it to you. It ain't to you they got to prove it, because they don't answer to you. Who are you? You don't have to follow them. You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to pay attention to them. You dig what I'm saying? Who are you? All right. Last one. This one. The source of love. Now, you know in the Bible, the source of love, the Spirit. But this is an aside. 1 John chapter 4 from the Modern Language Bible. You are from God, dear children, and have defeated them, because the one in you is greater than the one in the world. He is talking about the Spirit of God is in you. Okay? Listen, it says, let me go back to the beginning of chapter 4, because this is chapter 4, verse 4. Beloved ones, do not believe every spirit, but put the spirits to the test whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this we know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that acknowledges Jesus Christ as having some incarnate is from God. Acknowledges Jesus Christ as having some incarnate is from God. Whereas every spirit that does not acknowledge Jesus is not from God. It is the spirit of the Antichrist, of those coming you have heard right now. He is in the world. You are from God, dear children. You have defeated them, because the one in you is greater than the one in the world. They are from the world, so they talk from worldly point of view, and they listen, and the world listens to them. We are from God. Whoever knows God listens to us. Whoever is not from God does not listen to us. In this we may distinguish the spirit of truth from the spirit of error. Beloved, let us love one another, because love springs from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Okay. Listen. Verse 11. Beloved ones, if God loved us so much, we ought to love one another also. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God remains in us, and his love has been perfected in us. From this we know that we remain in him, and he in us. And this is why you honor your temple. For that reason. Because of what you carry in you. Okay? What is a part of you. Interesting, it said, question the spirits. I do that all the time. I'm clairaudient. I hear things. And I hear things talking to me. And I question who they are. If I can't feel them, because spirits can block you feeling them. They can. I question. Jesus tells you to do that. Question where they come from. And you got a lot of illusion. You got a lot of spirits bringing illusion to you. Right? But the great one is in you. You carry it with you. Right? Spirit. Excuse me. Find that interesting. Now, the source of love. Okay? To those of you, and that's faith in action, right? So, very important, yes. But to those of you who think that faith is over love, no. Here's why. Love, the commandments, right? Speaks of love. The 2 commandments speak of love. And so, the one thing it says is not in love is fear. Listen, there is no fear in love, but perfect love. I'm so sorry. This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. 18 through 21. But perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and he who fears is not perfected in love. That is why, if you want to believe in a hell, you go to hell. Because of fear and that guilt. So fear has to do with punishment, and he who fears is not perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. If anyone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him, that he who loves God should love his brother also. For this is the love, and this is 1 John chapter 5. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. For whoever is born of God overcomes the world. And this is the victory that overcomes the world, our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world but who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? Faith, yes. But you have to have faith in the love of spirit. Okay? So they're important, and faith is very important. But you have to have faith in the love of God. But the love of God is all. Love is all. The God they gave you is not the depiction. It's not. You will know spirit through you. That's the number one place you gonna know spirit, is through you and your study and what you know. But if you follow spirit, and you're a Christian, why are you in doctrine that's not yours? I understand it's the historical account, but that's what it is. But you're not a Jew. You're a Christian. Your words should be based on Jesus, and you should understand and come to understand what Jesus said and what Jesus meant. 1 John chapter 5, verse 19. We know that we are of God, and the whole world is in the power of the evil one. I have told you numerous times, this world belongs to Satan. It does not belong to the devil. It belongs to Satan. There's a difference. Just like heaven has a hierarchy, hell has a hierarchy. Satan is the highest. It belongs to Satan. It was Satan who came to Eve. It was not the devil. There's a difference, because that's when the world was given over. Okay? You can't make deals with the devil. You make deals with Satan. So, my loves, what would Jesus do? Jesus was very direct. He taught through parables, because specifically for those that will understand it, and he says it in there, those that will understand it will find it. Those that won't. He says that. I teach it for those to find understanding. If you don't find those that are not meant to find understanding won't. Those that will. Those are the ones. That's why he taught in parables. That's why he spoke in riddles. Because you were to do the work to find out. If you didn't sit up there and do the work, you weren't worthy of it. Y'all sit up here and keep thinking that this man was walking around here, love and sunshine and rainbows. He was not sunshine and rainbows. He was love. But he was also, he told you he's a sword. He got angry. He got on his disciples all the time, and they would piss him off because they weren't learning what they were supposed to learn. They should have known by him being in the presence. They didn't need to have the faith because he was in the presence, meaning of the unseen, because he was in their presence, and they still weren't getting it. And that was pissing him off. The marketplace, when he flipped over the table, that was not the only time that he expressed anger. Okay? Every time his disciples doubted, he expressed anger, but he forgave them every time. He continued on with them. And they still didn't spread it. When he left, they still didn't spread it the way they were supposed to. But Mary could, because Mary was there right by his side, and Mary understood. What would Jesus do? Love. Tell the truth. Spoke out against those that lied, no matter how high they were. Knew when they were coming for him and trying to trick him among the words, trying to make it a political issue. In regards to the coin that had Caesar's face on it. He accepted those that no one wanted, the lepers, the diseased, those that were had spirits in them that needed to be exorcised. He accepted those that no one else would. The homeless, that tax collector, the ones people didn't want. He walked with and taught. Unless you can put your fear to the side. He says it's not of spirit. Unless you can put your fear to the side and walk in love, where love leads you. True love leads you. And you don't parade to the world what you did. What good you've done for people. Your philanthropic exploits. You're not to share that. You're not to be celebrated for it. You're just to do it. Jesus wasn't celebrated for it because he announced to the world what he was doing like these other prophets do. He was celebrated to the world because he did it and he moved on. It was other people who told of what he did. It was not him who told of what he did, unless he was teaching a lesson and had to. You understand? And then he would get on the Sadducees, Pharisees, and clerics because of their tradition that they would uphold despite the word. That's what Jesus did. He goes against those, that is against the love of the people. That's what Jesus does. Can you do that? Are you strong enough to do that? Are you strong enough, despite the fear of what might happen to you, to stand up for the little one, to stand up for those that don't have a chance, to stand up for those that everyone else sees as weak? Do you have it within you to lay down your life for somebody that's being beat up or held at gunpoint? Do you have within you to take their place? Do you have within you to talk to that person, if you're qualified, to talk to that person that's holding the gun, to get them to see another way? That's what Jesus would do. Jesus did the hard stuff, not this lightweight shit that they keep trying to push to you. He did the hard stuff. He did the stuff no one else wanted to do. You know, when there's a fight at school, I was talking to one of my children, and she was telling me I was a special needs child, and people know me. No, you don't mess with kids with me. And so I asked her, I said, you didn't step in? Right? She said, you can get in trouble for that. I said, excuse me? How? She said, and I can get hurt. So what? So? I said, I'd be more proud if you got hurt by helping another than just standing up there and be a part of the problem. Oh, doesn't that equate to people that's getting beat up by other folks, police, whatever, and you just stand up there with your damn phone taking a video? What the hell is that supposed to do? Okay, so you got evidence, and did the person die? How much more mangled did they end up because you were holding your damn phone instead of sitting up there going to help? Jesus would have helped. Well, Jesus had those powers, and you have your own power. Spirit resides in you. What the hell do you think you can't prove from you that you need to use? I told you it's already there. What you have in you is not in a book. It's already there for you to use and pull from, because spirit is in you to pull from. You did? Don't walk around here talking about what would Jesus do, and you ain't doing shit. You have no understanding of what he would do. None. Because half of y'all don't do it. Y'all do it when it comes for adopting the Christmas. Oh, I adopted a family for Christmas. Or I deliver food. Great. Yeah, Jesus did that. What about the hard shit? And that was hard, because he would deliver it to people that were not Jews. Right? But and he would preach to people that wanted to hear. He would allow them. He would get in trouble for that. Especially being a rabbi. He would get in trouble for that. Like Bruce Lee got in trouble by the council because he was teaching the sacred art of martial arts to non-Asians. Same thing. Same thing. And he had to rebuild himself, but he went through that to rebuild himself with a different understanding. So the next time you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? Ask yourself, what would you do compared to what would Jesus do? Do I even understand what Jesus would give? And in order to answer that, the 2 commandments. Love spirit. Love your neighbor as you love yourself, which counts down to 3. Love spirit, love yourself, love your neighbor. And if you don't love your neighbor, you're not of spirit. You don't believe in love, you're not of spirit. You're not listening to spirit within you. I'll put it like that. Because you could be. You just, Or you sit up there, love can't do nothing for me. It hurt my feelings. No, your choice of who you chose hurt your feeling. Don't blame love for what you decided to do. That was your choice. You have free will. And you felt it. But you blinded yourself in love. Okay, so it's a lesson. Been there and done that. Many times. Don't blame love for your transgressions. Love is God. Don't blame love for your transgressions. You understand? Love is all. No, we ain't doing that. So you want to know what Jesus would do? Look at love. He told you. That's for those that follow that book. That ain't doing it. That's for those when that, put on a good face. And you ain't walking one fucking bit. But you putting on a good face. But you ain't walking one bit. I see. Then don't sit up there and talk about what would Jesus do, because you don't fucking know. You're not strong enough to walk it. You have no clue. Stop trying to walk like someone else and walk like you. At no time did I hear Jesus say, walk it like me. Out of those 82 that he endowed, he gave him instructions what to do, but he didn't say walk it like me. So my whole point of this talk was, you trying to walk a path that's not yours. You're trying to use it as an example. Read the examples. But you got to walk it your way because you ain't Jesus. You carry spirit, but you ain't Jesus. Stop trying to walk it his way. His way was destined and ordained by prophecy. Your way is ordained and destined by your way. You have no understanding of his way because you are not Jesus to have his perception to know. And that was the first mistake that these organized religions do. They make you try to follow something bigger than you in concept that you cannot understand. No. 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 You walk it as you. Because you cannot understand. That's why I teach you how to walk in love. To as you. With spirit in you. Your holy self. So you have sin. So you sin. And sin just means without knowledge. So you're doing things without knowing. And you will know what you do. You won't know the repercussions of what you do. You won't see the karma that's coming to you. That's the unknowing, the not knowing. When you walk in love, you mind the 10 Commandments anyway. You will understand what comes your way because love gives you understanding to know. When you don't walk in love, you sin because you're without that knowledge to know. That's what sin is. You're without that knowledge to know the repercussions, how it affects everyone else, why it damns you, the guilt, the fear. That comes from sin. Ignorance. That comes from sin. Okay? Yeah, it's disobedience. But we're expected to be disobedient. We're human. We're just expected to be better and do better. But you walk it as you. But when you walk in love, you get that understanding. I told you we were given language and knowledge, not understanding. Love gives you the understanding because when you use love, spirit in you talks to you to give you that understanding. It will give you situations and catalysts and people for you to get that understanding so that you really see, this is why I don't do this. This is why I don't sleep around. Oh, okay. It makes me feel this way. Not only does it make me look less, I am disrespecting the temple in which spirit lives, but it's not showing love to myself. Practical implications. That's what love gives you, that type of understanding. And then what happens? You ain't going to want to be in ignorance anymore because you won't have to be. You use love to find it out. Love yourself. It's real simple, y'all. Okay, my loves, I love you. I do. Please take care. Please know the faith in which you have, what you have it in, where it's geared toward. Stop downplaying yourself for these higher beings. Okay? You will learn you do good because not only you need to, there's no reason not to. Quite honestly. But you only get that understanding through love. You will see and you will feel. You won't want to do half of this bullshit anyway. You really won't. So, what's the point? Why would I want that when I know it's going to come back to me? Why would I want to cause someone else that pain? That's a pain I don't even want to live through. Why would I cause it to somebody else? To satisfy something in the now. And then when you do get it back, baby, you can't even imagine how much you get back. It's a clear, delineated process. And it's a clear reasoning once you use the eyes of love. All right, my loves, I love you. Have a wonderful day. Think about what I said. Pick up that book and go look it up yourself. I told you each verse. I told you, but read them. Read all the Gospels. Read them. Read different versions, because there's other versions that may help you understand. And understand the King James Version, literally, and King James said it, was written for control, because he considered himself higher than anything. But if they could control through God, or what they said about God, it's easier to get them together. And it was the church who did that. The Hierophant, if you were a tarot person, who did that. They did a lot of dirt in the name of God, knowing it was not. And that's why Jesus got on them. That's why Jesus got on them about it. You're going to find a lot of your tarot cards relate to a lot of political things at this time. The high priestess represents Pontius Pilate's wife. Very interesting. That's why the B and the J on the pillars of Barabbas and Jesus. But Barabbas was a follower of Jesus. So was Caiaphas' wife. I was like, oh, some of them did follow. But in secret. Interesting. Interesting. Interesting when you research different places. Dig to find what's true for you, but always use love. And when you do find the truth and you find that that truth is not coinciding with that book and what you know, don't get upset. Don't get upset. Just talk to Spirit and Jesus to find out what the source is. Where do you need to look? They'll tell you. All right, my loves, I love you. I hope this was helpful. What Jesus would do is what Jesus would do. What are you going to do? I love you. Have a wonderful day.